call in while they're on the beach. They want to know if you would be too much trouble to fly back to work or shift. I thought that was funny because, especially for Shantae, she's always out of town and traveling, and I know I'm always out of town, and the hospital will call you constantly. As a travel nurse, you are well needed because a lot of these hospitals are short-staffed. They don't have either the help or a lot of times they're expanding. Obviously, the healthcare field is growing larger and larger every day. More people are dying or more people are getting sicker, from the foods that we eat and how we take care of our bodies. And also more people are being born. There's babies nowadays left and right. And so the healthcare field has grown tremendously, and it's one of those careers where you pretty much could lose your job today, and if you really know about, searching, you could get a job, tomorrow. Just because, you get fired from one position, you always, be able to have another position. I myself, I'm a travel nurse. I've been a travel nurse for 9.5 years. I graduated 2008 from University of Buffalo, and I was straight from pretty much high school right into the nursing program. Once I graduated, my last year of nursing, I was working as a tech in the hospital, and I met a nurse I was a tech in emergency, and I met a nurse who pretty much was triaging patients and not really doing much, the hospital was slow. She triaged a couple patients for the whole 12-hour shift. She probably triaged 4 or 5 patients, and she told me that she was making $75 an hour. And I was like, whoa, what are you doing, and when can I get into it? And then once I realized that, I already knew in the back of my head that I wanted to be a travel nurse because, they come into the hospital, they're doing the same shift or less as other nurses, and they're getting paid way, way more. Pretty much a lot of times double or triple what an average staff nurse makes. So a little just about travel nursing. Travel nursing doesn't include just nurses. They have travel CNAs, they have travel LPNs, RNs, nurse practitioners. I even seen physician assistants throughout my career doing travel in a career, who pretty much work or travel through an agency or contract. So they're not working for the hospital, and they have they have to have a minimum of 9 months to a year experience, depending on what the agency that you're going through tells you. Most places want at least a year experience of whatever, nursing clinical experience you might have, whether it's med-surg tele or emergency or ICU or geriatric, whatever your specialty in nursing is. They usually want at least a year, and in some places I've seen only do 9 months. I started off med-surg tele. I started 2010, beginning of 2010. I started as a travel nurse, and I was a med-surg tele, which means medical, surgical, and telemetry unit, which pretty much monitor people on the cardiovascular unit on the monitor. So I started doing that. I did that probably for about 4 or 5 years. About 4.5 years. While doing travel nursing, I was always had a backup job. I was a nursing supervisor at a nursing home at Natina Living Center, and that just got me kind of experience with the geriatrics. So I always liked to broaden my horizon as far as, make sure I get to hit all parts of nursing, not just, emergency, not just medical, not just, pediatrics. I was doing, geriatrics, working in a long-term nursing home, and I was a nursing supervisor there. So working in a nursing home is quite different than working in a hospital setting. The hospital setting is more clinical, more hands-on, whereas the nursing home, they're usually considered, that's their home. You're taking care of residents. They stay there pretty much. You see the same patients every day on a continuous basis, until they die, or, you get back home. Sometimes, they might be there for rehab. But as far as a nursing home, I would recommend people to try to get experience in both, but more of the agencies are looking for a hospital, people who are trying to get into the hospital. I have a lot of LPN friends who are travel LPNs, and they are in the hospital, and some of them are even doing in a nursing home, whereas, the skilled nursing facility. But you pretty much could work out of state or even in your own city. Back in, I think, 2012, I was always working in New York City. I worked in New York City for 5 years. 2012, I started working at Highland Hospital as a travel nurse, and I was living right here in Rochester while working at Highland Hospital as a travel nurse, because there's ways around it as far as making sure you let the agency know that obviously you have to use an out-of-state address, because you have to have within a 50-mile radius. If you don't use an out-of-state address, you are able to still do travel nursing, but you get paid a high hourly rate, like 45 or 35 or 50 an hour, depending on your specialty, instead of getting what they call a meals and housing and per diem stipend. The stipend is what really makes travel nursing, get way more money. Pretty much, the stipend could be anywhere from like $1,100 to $1,500 extra every single week that you get, and whether you're working or not, it's just a stipend that you get every single week. Well, I think you have to work at least a couple hours, but the stipend you have to, it's just an untaxed housing stipend that you get. It's called meals per diem and housing stipend that you get, and that's non-tax. What's taxed is usually like a small rate, usually between 20 to 35 or 15 to $35 an hour. And most shifts are 12-hour shifts where you have to work 36 hours, and that's considered full-time. So you pretty much could bank just working 3 shifts and be bringing home, anywhere from minimum. I started as a travel nurse making $1,600 a week to, I've seen some contracts where I'm gonna show you that are $3,000 a week just working, 3 shifts as a travel nurse. What else? You have to have a home-based city. I already mentioned that. A home-based city is pretty much where you're from, where you claim your taxes, and where you're going to be going back to after you're done doing your travel assignment. And you could do, like I say, local travel nursing within a home-based city, and like I already say that for higher base pay. But you just will be ineligible for the housing meal per diem stipend. That's weekly. That's non-tax. So what else? So, typical day. At the end of the day, you're still a nurse, You have to remember that being a travel nurse doesn't change pretty much who you are. You're still a nurse, you're still LPN, you're still RN, you're still a nurse practitioner. A lot of people, in the healthcare field would think like, travel nurses are special. We're nobody special. We here doing the same exact thing, the same exact people. I have lots of friends who are travel nurses, and then I have some people who are not travel nurses that always ask me a lot of questions like, how is it? It's no different than being what you're doing right now. You can pretty much be doing the same exact thing, whatever hospital facility that you're doing, but you're just getting paid way more. Sometimes you might get a little bit of hate, especially from people of not color, that, because they know that you're coming in there as a travel nurse, making way more money, doing the same exact thing. I'm always the one that's always educating people, like, girl, you could do this too, whether you have kids or not. I've seen a lot of people who actually do travel nursing with children, and Anisia will talk about that. And some of them older, some of them are younger, and a lot of people are still doing travel nursing with children, and actually more people with children do travel nursing. And I usually always one of the few ones that don't have children. Because a lot of people think that's a big myth, like, you don't have no kids, you could do it. No, you could do it as well too. They got local travel agencies, they got local assignments that you could do, or even if something as far as Syracuse or Buffalo, then as long as it's within 45 to 50 miles, I believe you still be able to be considered as a travel nurse. So the contracts are usually 13-week contracts, although some agencies, they might have real short contracts where they're in dire need, and they have 4-week or 6-week contracts, and they also might even have 8-week contracts too. And then you're always welcome to renew after the 13-week contract is over. You're welcome to renew your contract and stay at the hospital longer. I've been at some, like when I was doing travel nursing in New York City, I was at Bronx, Lebanon for about a year. The max you could do is a year, or else you'd be considered a staff nurse, so then you have to stop and take a break, either a month or 2, and then come back, or else you won't be considered a travel nurse anymore. So I stayed at Bronx, Lebanon for a year. Then I also did St. Luke's, Roosevelt. I did that for a year as well. I've traveled places to California. I've been to Hawaii. I did 6 months in Hawaii, 3 months in Maui, and then about another 3 months in Honolulu. Yeah, I was there how long was there, Shantae? I know I think I was there from, we started like in July, and she left, and then I stayed till December. I ended up staying until December, so about 6 months in Hawaii. And Shantae will tell you a little about that as well too. So you could go some amazing places. As far as going to these different cities, you just have to apply for an application through the nursing board of whatever state it is, and you don't have to retake the boards over. You usually just take what they call a license by endorsement. You pay an application fee, and then you go through a nurse's website where they transfer your New York state license to whatever state it is, whether it's Mississippi, whether it's Louisiana, whether it's.
I'm sorry, I'm finished, but I have a question about the license.
Okay, yeah, so the questions, just hold them to the end, write them down, and then while I'm going through, I know people are going to have a lot of questions, and we're going to do a question and answer at the end of the presentation. So the licenses, Shantae is going to touch more about that. She has some great hands out about that as well too. But the licenses pretty much, yeah, you want to go through a travel agency that has license reimbursement, which means most of these travel agencies will tell you, if you want to work for us, in Hawaii, we'll give you we'll give you a reimbursement for getting a license. So license might be $200 or $100 or $150, depending on whatever state you work at, and then you might have to pay out of pocket initially, but then afterwards they'll reimburse you back pretty much within your first, paycheck. And what's good thing about travel nurses is that we get paid weekly. There's very few agencies that get paid that do the bi-weekly, but a lot of this the great pay, $1,500 or $2,000 or $2,500 a week, whatever. It's every single week. You get paid like clockwork. Every Friday or every Thursday, depending on what agency it is, we're getting paid every single week, and we just have to work a minimum of 3 shifts. Now, you are able to pick up overtime and work, extra shifts if you want to, but that's based on you. But where was I? Oh, to the states. You're able to, these different states, not only are you able to apply for them as well too, these travel agencies will also do what they call a transportation stipend, where they give you a stipend for getting to the contract, whether it's a different state, like going to Louisiana or going to Jersey, or driving to Philly, wherever, and they'll give you a separate stipend that's separate from your actual pay to get to the location. And then sometimes if it's not driving distance or you don't want to drive, they usually will fly you. Like they flew me to California, they flew me to Hawaii, and yeah, it's great because not only are you able to get paid, but you also you get to fly there as well too, and enjoy have pretty much a free vacation while getting paid. It's not showing up all the way because this iPad is not like formatted for PowerPoint. But a couple different ones that I'm with that are great paying. If you guys want to, write it down. Everybody should have a little notebook in their little gift bags. If you open up your gift bags, you should have like at least a couple pens out of there, and then a little notepad. Tailored, like you tailor something. Easy. Tailored healthcare. Next, another one is called Next. Like Next. Pro-Med staffing. These are, and I'm signed on with a lot of different agencies. These are just a few that I could think of that have pretty much all positions, from respiratory therapists to LPNs, RNs, and on top of that, they also pay real high, real well. Pro-Med staffing, Pulse Healthcare.
Is it Pulse or Pulse?
Pulse. Sorry, I have an accent. Pulse, like a heartbeat pulse. Yep. Pulse Healthcare. Yep. Fast Staff.
Fast Staff?
Yep, Fast and then Staff, all one word. AUREUS, it says AUREUS. AUREUS Medical.
One more time.
AUREUS. medical, and that's Arias Medical. Titan, Titan. Titan Medical. And I'm just gonna pull up a screenshot of some LPN ones, some great LPN ones I've seen. Oh, Prime Time Healthcare. This is for the one that has LPN travel assignments. Prime Time Healthcare. Medical Staffing Solutions. That's Medical Staffing Solutions. And 360 Healthcare. Those are the great ones for LPNs. And if everybody, let's go back to this, if everybody could see this one right here, it's called Travel Nurses, 1,800 plus growth per week. If everybody could get their phones out and try to join that group. That's a great group for travel nurses, and I love that group because all contracts are pretty much 1,800 plus. So some people who start off travel nursing, they might try to lowball you and give you a contract for that's 1,200, 1,300, 1,400 a week. You know, this group specifically only posts high-paying contracts that are 1,800 plus. So pretty much it's the girls you be bringing home 1,800, 1,900 plus every single week.
What's the name of the group?
Travel nurses, the 1,800 plus. I have the picture of it is right there. $1,700 a week for one hospital, and then you go to another travel agency, and they might be paying for that same exact hospital $2,500 a week. Mm-hmm. Isn't that right, Anicia? Yep. So that was one of the cases for a contract that we was on. A lot of people was coming in and they was getting lowball like 1,600, 1,500, 1,700 a week. You know, where we worked with an agency that was pretty much paying 2,400, 2,500 a week. You know, and also has some great referral bonuses. So did everybody get her first travel assignment? She told me that she was supposed to be here to speak, but coming from Baltimore, it was her first travel assignment. She couldn't come, but she started her first travel assignment, and they started her off at $1,350 a week, and she only been an LPN for a couple years. So this is a great travel agency for LPNs. It's called LPN and LVN Travel and Local Jobs. Yep, I have the picture up so you can see how it looks. LPN and LVN Travel and Local Jobs. LPN is called LPN Travel Assignments. This has some real good, high-paying contracts for LPNs. It's called LPN Travel Assignments. And in these groups, LPNs and recruiters are able to post in the groups. So if you're looking for a high-paying contract, you can even say, "Oh, I'm looking for a contract in DC," or "I'm looking for a contract in, upstate New York area." Usually the recruiters will get back to you as soon as possible because they are hungry, trying to get, as many, recruits as possible. Or other people might know of some and they'll, tell you about it.
I'm sorry. Excuse me. LPN and LVN travel in local groups. What was the other one you said? LPN travel assignments?
Yep, LPN Travel Assignments. Also, I know another agency that I know hire LPNs. It's not a great paying one for RNs, but they pay well, okay for LPNs. Is supplemental healthcare for LPNs. I know those hire LPNs. I have a lot of friends who are LPNs that work with for supplemental as well.
So it's better ones a supplemental? So it's better ones a supplemental? I've been with supplemental for a year. I was feeling like I could do better, but it's better.
No. LPNs has travel, LPN. Supplemental has LPN travel assignments. They have a lot of them, but to me, it's not one of the highest paying ones. But at least, you know, it still pays higher than, you know, average staff LPN. But these groups that I told you here, LPN travel assignments, they have lots of recruiters. The recruiters come from different agencies. You know, usually these agencies are out of state, either in California, Florida, Ohio, wherever. They're usually never local. They're always usually, you know, out of state, and they go on there, they're here and recruit. So these are people just, you know, any 4-week contract starting in September. People going on here, and people on here saying LPN. Oh, here go one. They just posted a couple days ago. So this is the LPN in Virginia, Newport, Virginia, for $1,400 gross a week. So these, and that is great for LPNs, because there's RNs sometimes don't even make that much, you know. Mm-hmm. So these, like I say, this agency here posts a lot of contracts. She'll go on 36 hours. LPN needed in PA, which is Pennsylvania, 1,300 gross, 1,311 gross.
And Harriet, you get the stipends too as an LPN, right, for travel?
Yes, yep. Any travel, even if you're a CNA or RN or LPN, you get the stipend too. Yep.
And that's not included in the 1,400 you're talking about?
No. That's usually included. That's why it's so high. Yeah.
That's
why usually the travel nurses get paid way more, because they get a base pay, but they also get a weekly stipend. Right. But what's not included is the 500 travel reimbursement, so that's extra. Okay. So it's 1,311 plus, like this one is offering 500 travel reimbursement, and that's for you to get to your assignment. Like say if you from New York and you want to drive to Pennsylvania, instead of having them fly you, they'll give you 500 travel reimbursement. Obviously, it don't cost 500 to get there.
Right.
In Pennsylvania, with a tank full of gas, that's only what, $40, $50, and then boom, you didn't pocket it $450, you know. Here's another one, 1,200 weekly gross, and Sundance. Well, these are just examples of some LPN ones. And that's a 9 gross weekly, and this is right here in upstate New York. And OR nurses, 2,800 weekly gross. ER, 2,517 weekly gross, and this is like right in Syracuse. That's paying this. And then most of these contracts too, if you renew, they usually sometimes give you a bonus, and you could ask for a bonus too. As a travel nurse, you usually are the boss. I tell people to don't let these recruiters try to lowball you. Try to shop around, ask another travel nurse, you know, how does this sound? And also, do your homework as far as, you know, maybe look in another travel agency that might be, you know, working or hiring for that same hospital, because other agencies might pay a little more or a little less, you know. So you want to kind of like, you shopping for a car. You know, just shop around and make sure you're getting the highest pay. Everybody, I'm gonna give everybody my contact information. If anybody have any questions, feel free to contact me, message me, you know, for any questions. If anybody need a reference, you know, for anything, I'm always giving out reference. I'll be your supervisor, your manager. Shante knows, right? Your charge nurse. What's another great thing about these travel agencies, since they are out of state, they don't know what number you're giving them, you know. So you give them a reference and say, oh, Tamise was my nurse manager for the last 5 years. They call Tamise, and Tamise say I was a nurse manager. She was a great nurse. You know, my best reference is my boyfriend. He's been my nurse manager for the last 10 years. They don't know who they're talking to on the other end. So you just want to be able to get somebody that you know is gonna hold you down. Because I noticed when I first started doing travel nursing, I actually was asking nurses that I work with, you know, but some of them you can't trust, especially people who are not of color, you know, who are not melanated, because they will try to throw you under the bus. They will, oh yeah, girl, I'll give you a great reference, and then your recruiter's calling you back, oh, I'm sorry, we need another reference, because that one wasn't good, obviously. And then when you try to call them back, they don't even answer their phone. You know, so you have to want to make sure you get somebody. I just always get somebody that I know and trust. I only use 2, 3 references for the last 7 years, you know, my same 2 or 3, and they always come through. One of them is my boyfriend, always, all the time. They don't know he's a nurse. He's not even a nurse. Never even been in the healthcare field. Doesn't even like touching, blood or anything like that. But yeah, he's been my nurse manager for the last 4 or 5 years. I've been people nurse managers, they're directors, they're charge nurses. I'll be whatever you need me to be, because at the end of the day, we're trying to help, secure the bag, and we're trying to help pretty much, all our black community, because, it shouldn't be just kept to just one nurse and like, oh, you're making all this money, la la la. No, girl, sis, you can make this too. Bruh, you can make this too, and I'm going to show you how, and I'm going to also help you and teach you. So I'm here to be a coach, mentor to anybody who might need any help. I know this is, like I say, little, discombobulated with the presentation. It's not the full one that I wanted, but everybody in the PICU. I did 9 months and strong, hint, hint, and I didn't even do a whole 4 year as a travel nurse. I did 9 months, and then at strong was ghetto, had a lot of drama, so I left out of there quick, and then I went right into visiting nurse services and travel nursing. So yeah, you pretty much. PICU, if you got any ICU or any specialty experience, this is a great one for you guys. This is for the hour $1,000 a week, and they even tells you what's taxable and what's non-taxable.
So does it matter if it's an ASN or a BSN when you do this?
Nope, that's what I love about travel nursing. They don't care if you got a BSN or ASN. The nurse that got me to travel nursing, she still only has her 2-year associate's degree. She never went back for her bachelor's. So that's what I love about travel nursing. Again, you don't have to have a degree. Matter of fact, I have a master's degree that I'm not even using, because when you do travel nursing, it doesn't really matter. You're still going to get that same thing. You might get a little higher depending on what specialty you might be going into, but my degree, my master's in nursing leadership and administration, is more so to be like a director or administrator at like a nursing home, and I kind of stray away from the nursing home. I like the hospital, I like the clinical, and essentially I'm gonna go back for my nurse practitioner. But right now I'm enjoying my my great money without having to do that. I got the whole one. I took pictures of separate pieces, but the full one that I have for you guys. It's LEAD. It's called LEAD Healthcare. LEAD Health Staff. Sorry, LEAD Health Staff. Is the reason why they're paying so high because of the Epic conversion. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Epic. Epic is like one of the main computer charting systems that are pretty much going global. Most of these hospitals are switching over to Epic. So if you got Epic experience, then this is a plus for you, because you pretty much have training for like a day or 2, and then you off by yourself. And also deductions. Another thing I was telling people how they could get the max pay. If you're single, even if you're not single, you're able to pretty much claim six to 9, for at least a period of 6 months. So to get the max pay. So if you're not doing that already, sis, bruh, jump on that, because especially when you're doing working a high hourly rate, like, as a staff nurse do, they usually get paid high hourly, like $30 an hour or 20-something an hour. If you're LPN or whatever, $35 an hour. I used to get paid or whatever at Unity. But you getting taxed on that whole $35 an hour, so some of these checks, you're supposed to be bringing home probably $3,000, but they take out another $1,000 or $1,500 worth of taxes, and that's a good thing too about being a travel nurse. They taking out less taxes because you get in a smaller hourly rate, and you get in a huge weekly stipend for the housing and meals and lodging. So if you are allowed to claim 6, 9, or 12 for a period of 6 months to get the full maximum pay of your weekly take-home check. And when you do your taxes, I do my own taxes, and I go for TurboTax, or the best one to do, TurboTax or a private accountant, because then you could take out the most deductions. Even as a what's it called, private duty nurse. A lot of, LPNs, that's how they bank too on their money without doing travel nurse. They do private duty cases. These private duty cases get paid $25, $30 an hour for LPNs, $30 to $40 an hour for RNs, whatever. But you take care of one patient, it's easy, but then you getting taxed on that, or you have to take out your own taxes. So I recommend deducting everything. When I say I deduct my cell phone bill, my car, gas, I save every single receipt. Now, I haven't had to send them receipts in like 5-6 years, but I save them just in case, if the IRS ever, try to go back and like, oh, we need receipts for all the deductions that you had claimed. When I say scrubs, because most of these hospitals have different uniform attire, so they have quite different scrubs, colors. Some of them is gray for the nurses, some of them is maroon for the nurses, some of them is blue, some of them is teal, some of them is navy blue like Unity and RGH, so because of these different requirements, you have to constantly be buying scrubs. So I write off all my scrubs, I write off my cell phone, I write off my car, because in the day I need my car to get back to work, especially if you're doing a local travel assignment like in Syracuse or Buffalo or even New York City or Albany. You need your car to get back and forth. So I write off all the gas receipts, all the tolls, the mileage and all of that. So these deductions, a lot of people are like, oh, they don't get back their taxes, but I get back every single tax, and I don't claim no kids. And I usually get like $5,000 to $6,000 every single time, doing my own taxes with no kids. So if I had a kid, it would be even more. But, I don't, and I recommend everybody doing deductions, taking pretty much everything off. And then the 6, 9, or 12 months for at least a period of 6 months, I do it for a whole year. And I still never, like I said, they never ask me anything. I do 12 for a whole year, and then even the 6 months, I'll even do exempt. I have my taxes exempt. And I still get money at the end of the year, every single year. And I was taught about this by another travel nurse that, she's been doing it for 40-something years.
10 years. I graduated in 2009 from UCC with my associate's degree, and I got my bachelor's in 2016 from the U of R. It's a few that know me from when I used to work at Marshall as a teacher's aide. I was a wild teacher's aide, right? And Carla, I want to point out Carla and Aisha, because when I worked at Strong, they came in and Carla, those two, they came in and they were in their LPN program, and you don't know me, but Carla, they put Carla with me, and Carla could probably speak on me and my character and how I helped her out or whatever, but they became successful RNs. I think Aisha, you said you're going to.
No, we're still LPN, but I'm starting my prereq.
No, that's for she's about to start with her RN, but they both were awesome. Carla was awesome, and she could probably say like 2 or 3 little sentences about me, about how. Can you?
How she worked me hard. She was mean to me. But she made me learn the meds, and she made me work hard, and I thank her for that.
Yeah, thank you. No, I really appreciate that, because I get a lot of inboxes.
No, you wasn't mean to me.
Thank you. I get a lot of inboxes and like people, on Facebook or Instagram, or and it kind of like make me tear up a little bit, and I'm not being funny, because they say you inspire me, you make me want to be a nurse, how long, send me some information, can I call you, can I talk to you, and I'll be like, oh my God, people really like, be like, hey girl, like you're doing your thing, you know what I'm saying? So it kind of, and some days when you get your patients, because I'm a med surgeon nurse, so sometimes when you get your patients, you be like, oh my God, why did I choose this? When I was a new nurse, I was on the unit and something happened. I think maybe a patient said something to me, or I was just like, I'm about to go in the corner and cry. But then I was like, and I was like, why did I choose this profession? But then as the years went on, I was like, I got this. I'm a good nurse. I got this. And then, like I said, people are encouraging. They inbox me. They want to talk to me. So it's like, I always say, I'm proud to be a nurse, even though you have like crazy patients. Sometimes you got to take a step back and be like,
Move side,
little bit, go back out, because you get those patients that want to try, and you be like, let me write out the license. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, I've been a nurse since 2009, so I really enjoy it. It's my passion. passion. The reason I became a nurse, my mom has been an LP, well, she got her RN, but she's been a nurse, for 35 years, but she's a psych nurse, so she never worked in a hospital, whatever, so she's been a nurse, so ever since I seen her, having to catch the bus, and me and my sisters and stuff, so I was like, I want to be a nurse. I got my human service degree in 2005, at MCC, and I was doing human service, so working in group homes, working in schools, like I said, these two young ladies know me back there, and so I did that, and I was like, okay, time for me to go to nursing school, so like I said, I did that and pursued that as a career, which I really enjoy doing. So, as you guys all know, like I said, we're here for travel nursing, and I've been doing that for 3 years. I travel nurse, and I also do personal travel. I travel a lot doing that. I'm single, I don't have any kids, so that give me like freedom, you know what I mean? So I can do all of that stuff. So my first assignment was in Hawaii. I've been to California. I've been to Louisiana. I just got back from Louisiana yesterday. I drove back and forth. That was 20 hours. So I may look cute and stuff, but really underneath all that, I'm tired. It took me 20 hours. We left Thursday at 11 a.m. and I got back yesterday at 8:45 a.m. on the dot. So I maybe slept 5 hours and then what the hell about Harriet? So this is tired. I just got my New Jersey license. They finally got done with my application in probably like last month. So I have 4 licenses: New York State, California, Georgia. I had my Hawaii, but I let that lapse because I was like, I don't know when I'm gonna go back. And Louisiana, so yeah, because licenses that I got. And I have to make sure I renew all of those licenses. So I know it seems like it's a lot.
Interrupt, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I have a question about the licenses in particular.
Oh, that's all of it, yeah.
Okay, compact licenses.
So since you said that, so when I was in Louisiana, I was talking to two of my nurse friends, and they was like, "Oh, we're about to go apply for a compact license." So I was like, "Okay, when I get back home, I'm gonna apply for it too." New York State don't participate in that.
Right.
It doesn't.
So they sure don't. So, but them, since they're in Louisiana participated in that. So, and I was gonna put something in here about compact license, but I was like, it's really no point unless you going out of state, you're gonna live there to get a compact. So that's why I didn't include it, because I was gonna, but New York State don't participate because I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna
So you
go.
have to live there.
Yep, you have to live there for at least 6 months.
Okay.
And be a resident there to hold that compact license.
Okay.
You can go and work there, but you have to live there and be a resident there for at least 6 months.
So when you get it, can you use that same license in any compact state?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. But like I said, I didn't put it in here because I was like,
Right,
we
right,
in by New York
right.
State. So if y'all look in y'all packet, which I don't have to go through it now, it says complete list of state boards of nursing. So I looked at this forever, and I was like, oh my God, this is so important because some nursing license fees are
Really
expensive.
expensive, right?
Very, in this little packet, like I said, it's a lot, it's probably 7 pages, but you can look, did you have it all? It should be. Okay, so look at this, like, when you go home, sit back, because these fees on here, I looked at some of these, I said, ooh. I know Minnesota, I want to apply for a job in Minnesota or somewhere, and I was like, dang, I'm like, wait a minute. But just like as stated earlier, when you apply for these agencies and speak with your recruiter, you'll say, hey, you guys do license reimbursement. Make sure you get an agency that agrees, put it in your contract that they will reimburse you for your fees, licenses, like Carrie was saying, for anything. Save all of your receipts. I don't care if you got something that was $5, save it, because when I went to Louisiana, I had to get something stamped, and it was $5, and I submitted all of my receipts. So make sure y'all, yeah, yes.
If you say RN, does it apply for LPN too for the license price? It's just say RN license and
It wouldn't be the same amount. would it?
I would think it's the
No,
same.
yeah, I think that LPN might be a little cheaper, but that's still the same website that you go to get the license.
Yeah,
So you would
yeah,
still
sorry,
call
I
that
didn't
same
include
number,
it. I didn't
yeah.
think, yeah, sorry about that, but sometimes they are maybe a little bit cheaper.
Yeah.
But then they have, and then also, I don't know if any of you guys ever heard of nurses. When you apply for a different licensure in each different state, you have to go on nurses and have them verify all of your license. California does not participate in nurses, and California is like $100-something when you have to verify your license for California, and they take forever. But all the other ones are $30. So like if you, like I said, I have my 4 license, take out California, I'll list all of those like if I was applying in Texas. I'll go to nurses and say, send on my license to verify to Texas, and they, I think $30.
It's $30.
So you spend
Per
Is that-
license.
Yeah, $30 per license.
NURSYS.
Yeah.
Everybody write that down. That's a great website to go to that does the license reimbursement check. And it's $30. So if you wanna go to Texas, you go to Nurses and then you pay $30. You wanna go to Georgia, you go to Nurses, you pay $30. So that state pretty much will verify your license that you have right here in New York.
Yeah, so make sure you go through that, you sign up, you could like sign in and out and go back and forth. They usually send emails like, hey, you haven't been on the nurses website, come check us out, make sure you use this list. This list is updated, it helped me too, because every time I'll be like, okay, I wanna go here, let me try to find it. So I was like, oh, I found something, I said, this will help you guys. So if you be like, okay, I wanna go here, but this license $400, let me try somewhere else to go, yeah, so that packet is very helpful. So the next one I want you to, this one is very helpful too, the one that says questions to ask. These questions I came up with that are necessary, some of them need to go into your contract when you're on the phone with the recruiter. If your recruiter likes to text, that is so awesome. So they can't turn around and be like, I didn't say that. Nope, it's right in the text messages. So I know, Anicia was saying, she had went out of town, and they had her, she was like, oh my God, I have to make up my hours. That's the question you have to ask. When you say, okay, I need a week off, how much longer do I have to do in my contract? Because that's how I was. I had came back home, I had took off 2 weeks, and my recruiter was like, well, you have to add on another week. So that's why I ended up coming back this week, because I had to add on another week. So you guys have to make sure you ask that, like, of course, what is your floating policy? Some places make you want to float. I hate floating, because when I was at Upstate, they was like, you have to float. So I'm in the middle of my 7 to 7 shift. It's 3 o'clock. They said, you have to go to another floor. I haven't finished my documentation. I haven't finished passing my meds. If something happened to my patient, make sure you ask about floating. Make sure you ask about what system they use for charting. Ask for like schedule. If you can self-schedule yourself, if your boss schedule you. See if you can get when you first sign your contract, they sometimes give you money for that. Sometimes they give you money for when you finish. My agency owed me money for when I just finished, so I'm gonna make sure I call them. I just So they give you money for, make sure you ask about when is overtime. Is it after 36 hours? Is it after 40 hours? Make sure you ask all of that. Time off you need to ask about, because those are like important things that need to go in your contract. What is like the diagnosis of your floor? I'm a med surgeon. Some people are like ICU or ED. You have to make sure what type of patient, because I applied to one job and they said, oh, we're gonna have drips, we're gonna have this. They was talking foreign language to me because I didn't know what they was talking about. So I was like, I'm not taking that job, because I said I ain't about to lose my license because I don't know what I'm doing on this unit. So you have to make sure what type of patients that you're gonna be taking. How many weekends? We all love our weekends off. Every other. In Louisiana, I had to do every other weekend. So I was like, okay, let me plan this. So make sure you ask all of these important questions. Like I said, save your receipts. If you're a day shift nurse, make sure you put that in your contract. I only work days. I'm not a night nurse unless it's like an easy job for me. Like while I'm here at one of my jobs, I'll do nights, but in the hospital, I don't like doing nights, because like 3 o'clock, I'm like, please send me home. I'm tired. I can't do it. Let me see what other questions. Make sure you do your housing. Make sure you ask about if you have to cancel your contract early. Make sure you ask about that. Like if something happened, family, if death, or something happens, make sure you ask about, because some agencies charge you for canceling your contract. So make sure you look at this. These questions are so important. I had to put them all together. Like I added a little bit more a couple days ago. And I was like, okay, these are my jobs. You can't get in contact with with the recruiter. So make sure you ask. Usually I ask these questions here. How long have you worked with this agency? Why do nurses want to work with you? Why do they renew their contracts with you? How do you find jobs? Like you want to be able to trust your recruiter. You want to be able to get in contact with them. You want to be able to ask them questions without them saying, okay, well, we can't work together. So just make sure when you talk to your recruiter, get a little person who will ask about them. Ask them if they ever worked in the nursing field, because some of these recruiters, they know nothing. They got them a job, they follow protocol, and they do what they're supposed to do. I've ran into all my recruiters that I had from my agencies. They've been awesome. I never had any issues. I could call them, text them, leave them a message, and they'll email me or call me back for, whatever like that. And I'm personable. So how I act now is how I act all the time. Like people that know me, like, I'm like this. And one lady, she worked for an agency and she married to a black man. So she was like, Shantae, you remind me of my sister-in-law. I said, okay, do what? So we have like a good relationship, you know, cause she just like, okay, I gotta give that husband, you black. All right, she's gonna give me the jobs then, you know what I'm saying? So, but she's really nice. If I need her for something, she'll return my calls or return my emails, you know, back, you know, when she's supposed to. And then the last one, I think I was here till like 5 p.m. The last one is the requirements to becoming a travel nurse. Like, and you have to make sure you keep up on your CEUs. Everybody knows what those are, right? So when me and my dad was out of town from Super Bowl, and they was like, you have to do your CEUs. So I'm trying to find a laptop, everything. I did all of my, I think I had to do like 20 hours of CEUs. When I tell y'all my heart was racing because I had to have it in by the end of the day. I didn't know this until they emailed me. It said, they probably emailed me before that. They said, you have to have these in. So I'm over there scrambling, trying to do my CEUs. Make sure you keep up with your CEUs. And it says that on that packet for all the states that you have to license. You just like how. So one of my agencies I have, you could get free CEUs from your agency because some places you have to pay for. So the agency I was through Aya, so they sent me a link for my CEUs. So if I want to go in there and do 100 of them and bust them down, so whenever I renew, I get free CEUs. Some places you have to pay for. So I would rather have an agency where you get free CEUs because that's like bomb, and I had did like a whole bunch of them. AYA. So I got a list of all my agencies, and I could send y'all all my agencies too, because I have like a whole bunch to pick.
Okay. LPN, CNA, and then students. Okay. I just wanted to know, because I know we had a mixture. So I was just wondering about that. But like Harriet said, my name is Anicia Calhoun. I am founder of Sis Society, which is socially involved sisterhood society. It's a Facebook and Instagram page that I run along with a few of my moderators, and Shantae is newly moderating. So a little bit about myself. I have been a nurse since 2007. I started out as an LPN, graduated from REOC. I moved away to Charlotte, North Carolina in 2008, got right into the RN program. That was the thing about moving away. As we know, in Rochester, it's so competitive to get into nursing school. I'm sure a lot of you guys can attest to that. As far as, I find even with some of my friends, I have close friends that I graduated from the LPN program with, and I became an RN, and when I was finishing, they were still trying to get their prereqs in order. Like, that's how hard and competitive it is in Rochester. So if you can move away, I would suggest doing so. I did so before I had children. But I received my associates in 2010 at Charlotte, at Carolina's College of Health Science. Moved back to Rochester shortly after. Once I got my RN, I knew I wanted to be a travel nurse, but fell in love, all that good stuff. Came back home, and just started working. I worked at RGH. My first RN job was, and I actually started as an LPN because my nursing, I was waiting to take my NCLEX. So when I graduated in December 2010, I was able to get a job starting in February of 2011, and I took my RN boards in April of 2011 and became an RN. After that, I had my son probably a year and a half later and got my bachelor's at Rockport. 2016, I started at Damon College out in Buffalo for my master's, was taking some prereqs and was actually in the nurse practitioner program. Then I got pregnant with my daughter. So that's all on hold. My daughter is 10 months right now, so I'm still kind of in between trying to figure out exactly what I want to do, but I know I needed to make money. And I started thinking back to, okay, what can I do? I do have a husband as well. Sorry, I left that part, so I'm a new wife. 1 year will be November 1st. But I was just trying to think, like, what can I do for the family? Like, what can I do to make money? Like, I've always been a go-getter. After I had my daughter, I was working at Rochester General Hospital on the medical observation unit. And one of my close friends, she's not here today, but her name is Ebony, she kind of stepped out first into the travel nursing world. And if some of you know her, Ebony, she's a single mother. She has 4 kids, so I'm thinking like, okay, if Ebony can do this, traveling back and forth, doing travel nursing out in Syracuse, I can do it. So sure enough, after my maternity leave, I started researching. I reached out to Shantae, and just trying to ask questions, trying to figure out what exactly I wanted to do. I applied at Upstate Medical That's in Syracuse. I live in the Browncroft area, so I get right on the expressway. It's like an hour and 15-minute drive for me. I promise I'm not speaking. For the most part, I would drive back and forth. But I did have a set schedule because with my son, I have joint custody with his father, so I preferred to work the days that I didn't have him. So typically I would work, and I was doing nights, I would work Wednesday and Thursday, and then every other weekend, and those are the days that he went with his dad. So that was perfect for me, and then my baby was at home with my husband. I started in January of this year. Traveling in Syracuse. And when I started, it was good, the money was good. I was with an agency called Supplemental. That was the agency, yeah. That was the agency my friend was with at the same time, but I swear, a week in, so with Upstate, we all have badges. Everyone has the same badge, but you have a green stripe if you're a traveler. So you're in a med room, you're like, you're a travel nurse, who you with? Everyone's talking, you know, like break room talk. So we're talking, and this one guy had come up to one of my friends, and he was like, oh, I was with Supplemental. You should look at Next Travel, and that was the first company I think Harriet named off on her list. And he was like, yeah, I'm making $2,400 a week, and I'm like, no way, because at that time I was making $1,700 with Supplemental. Mind you, we doing the same work. He got 4 patients, I got 4 patients. I'm traveling from Rochester, he's traveling from Rochester. So I couldn't believe it. And so when she told me, I'm like, I'm gonna call the recruiter myself. And sure enough, Ryan, I called him and he gave me the information. And so what happens, and I don't know how it is in any other state, but with New York State and with that particular hospital, Upstate is a state hospital. So they have, I wanna say, is it every 2 to 3 years, I think the nurses were seeing, they have to bid, the agencies have to bid for like the highest paid contract, like basically like, oh, come to us. And next, when they bid, they got the highest paid contract. So it was true, that company and their sister companies with Tailored, and that's exactly who Harriet's with right now, they were paying for med-surg nurses $2,400 a week.
How many hours?
36. But see, my schedule was different because I was working, because I worked the Wednesday, Thursdays, and then every other weekend. So one week I'm working 24 hours, and then the next week I'm working 48. But it balances out to the 72 in their pay period. So I've been there since January. I absolutely love it. I am on oncology med-surg floor. Our ratio is 4 to 1. Our charge nurse has 1 patient, and then the other 3 nurses, we have 4 patients. I don't know. I think before I became a travel nurse, one of the like stigmas that was kind of over my head and kind of in the back of my mind was people do look at you kind of funny. Like the staff nurses, you would think like, oh my God, you know, you're making all this money, you can do that. And some people experience that, but I can honestly say since I've been there since January, I have not. And I floated, because like when you're at Upstate, if you are a traveler, you're the first to float, which, you know, I get it. That's a benefit of being an employee. But I can say, and you know, I've worked with all kind of backgrounds, different, you know, races, and I have never had any encounters like that would make me say like, oh, you know what, I can't do this. I recently, this week, started on my days because, so typically the need is for nights. Like that's even in nursing, when you start out, you typically go on to a night shift or evening shift when you go into the hospital. I was able to impress my manager, and she's like, okay, I can bring you on days, let's try it out. So I'm like, I miss being at home, my husband in the bed, you know, my baby, she's 10 months now, but when I started, she was what, 3 months? So it was kind of hard. Like I wasn't every day away from her, but still just like knowing I wasn't there, I kind of felt guilty. But now I'm on days, and this week I actually work Tuesday to Thursday, 12-hour shifts, and I'm still driving back and forth from Rochester to Upstate.
And you commute every day? You don't stay at all?
When I worked my night shifts, I used to stay on my weekends, because my weekends I've made it Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I would go out there Friday and I would get a room, and Harriet, we stayed together a couple of times. I would get a room and stay until Monday morning. So I would get off Saturday morning after my Friday shift, we check in the hotel. And typically, there's a few, like, so when I left Rochester General Hospital, and there was 5 of us that left at the same time from my unit. They were mad, they were pissed. Like Harriet said, you know, you gotta be careful with using some of your previous, like, it's all good when you're there. And this is just the raw, this is just the real. It's all good when you're there, but when I left, people were like, and they weren't coming to me because they knew not to come to me. But they were saying like, you know, Why is she traveling? What is she doing? She has a baby. What about her husband? What about Jordan? You know, because I had been here for 4 or 5 years, and we became a family. But it's like, I'm not happy for me. So that was really
Everybody, your glow up.
Listen here, okay? So it was really disappointing to hear the stuff that was going around. Like one of my closest friends that I worked with at that time, she was one of our clinical leaders, and we honestly fell out after that because I was disappointed because I'm like, you know, we're supposed to be friends, and I'm not one of the people. I know a lot of people say, you know, you don't go to work to make friends. But when you have such a strong personality and like people adapt to you, like we were like legit friends. If you follow my social media, like we were like doing monthly activities together. They threw my 2 baby showers for me, so like we were like a family. So it was kind of disheartening, but you keep pushing. Like I didn't let that keep me back. And with some of the other ones that were not this, they were guilt tripped into staying per diem, and I'm like, it's not worth it. Like I tried it for a few weeks, but I'm like, the point of me going to travel nursing was to make more money, and now I'm making that money. I really don't need this. And especially when y'all being negative and y'all not supporting me, you know, and what I have going on. So I let it go.
Won't God do it? Don't remove them.
I'm vested, so I was fine with it. But yeah, I can truly say travel nursing, I wish I would have done it sooner. Like I tell, even when I'm in the med room talking to some of the girls now that are staff, and they're like, you travel, you come from Rochester, and you know, they're new nurses, and I'm like, get your experience and just know, even if you're not, you know, it's just so much out here. Like you got the younger ones, they don't have any children, they don't really have anything holding them back. The older ones, they don't have anything holding you back. Like get out there and like live life. And I wish I would have done it a whole lot sooner. Like I really wish, because it's not even just the money. Like I love nursing. Like I love people. I love nursing. I love taking care of my sick people. You know, even the well ones. I just love it, and I really I wish I would have done this sooner. But I'm here now. I'm actually contemplating. Me and my husband were talking about me doing an assignment next summer, and we're actually thinking about taking the kids with us for 13 weeks. And that would be nice.
Yes.
They'll pay for our housing, and it's a vacation for them. And you know, I'm out here working my 3 days, and yep, I'll meet y'all at the beach.
Right.
It's a lot. I wrote a couple things down I wanted to say when she was talking. The biggest thing, they kind of hit on everything as far as like the paperwork and knowing about your contracts, but definitely don't like negotiate and know your worth. Like I got out there, I was like a deer in the headlights. I really didn't know, and it didn't take, like my friend that I was working with, that I followed behind, my friend Ebony, we were talking about our contracts, and she was like, oh no, they gave me $1 more and they paid for my parking. I got right on that phone with my recruiter, and he, of course, they play crazy, like, oh, well, let me see what I can do. I probably can figure it out. I'll have to get back to you. 5 minutes later, I got a text message. Your contract's been updated. Can you sign it? And they put all that. So what happens with the recruiters, to my understanding, they get paid. They get paid. So if I'm making $2,400, they're probably making about half of that themselves. Like that agency brings that money into. They're not giving us all the money. That's just like even with the local agencies like VNS and what is it, Nurse Finders. Like yeah, they'll pay you $20, but they probably getting paid from the hospital $35 or $40, and they keep it half of that, and they're not even doing the work.
Exactly.
So give me my money. And you know, it wasn't a whole lot, but you just really can't let people, you know, do any kind of way. But I really do hope you guys consider doing it. Like I said, I'm not even going far. I'm just going an hour and 20, you know, up the road. But it's
for some of the ladies that have gone further, like Hawaii or Louisiana, do you do any Airbnbs? Do you?
So what I did was I rented out a room.
Okay.
And it's a lot of housing groups too. Like if y'all want that, like I said, y'all can inbox me, whoever not my friend is Shantae Hill, but they have like, and I can send y'all the information. They have like a lot of housing. You have to do your research. Some of them, some people get scammed. I read a horror story. They get scammed like, oh, and people send money. I'm not doing it. So not that we're getting these deals, but sometimes like when I travel, I had good places to stay or whatever. So like if you want an assignment, get a hotel for maybe 3-4 days, and if you see something you like, go there and look at it, and then give the people your money. Don't ever Western Union, don't ever send the people your money. You know what I'm saying? Look at it first. Just like if you was here looking for an apartment, you're not just gonna give the people here your money. You gotta look. So my place in Louisiana was really nice. The people are so hospitable. Like they cooked for me. Like I wasn't missing a meal. Okay.
So was it an Airbnb or just?
It was somebody's house.
Okay.
So I rented out her room.
Okay.
So, but
yeah.
they, they range different. Like I was paying like $800 for the room, which I guess is good. Cause some places be like $1,000. Like in California, it's expensive.
Yeah.
So if you ever go to California, make sure you do your research because some of the places could be expensive and overly too much.
Right, and they give you like, so you get the stipend, like Harriet said, the stipend is non-tax, but then also the agencies, they have places that they can refer you to, whether it's Airbnbs or hotels, and then they sometimes get discounts.
So do you have to prove that you're renting out somewhere, or do you just get the stipend?
You get the stipend, off the bat, but what I found out recently, and I had a conversation a few months ago with Harriet, because one of the nurses kind of scared me, one of the travel nurses, and Harriet was like, girl, didn't listen to her. But the one lady was saying how they can come back and ask you for, like, audit you basically, like, you know, you gotta prove. But then, that's for me, I'm like, okay, I've made an impression here, like, I've, you know, made buddies with some of these people, so okay, like, yeah, you write me a receipt instead, you know, you just gotta know your way around it.
So if you know someone in that state and you live with them and you don't have to pay anything, you're still getting a stipend.
That's the best way.
Have them prove it before you go.
That's the best way to do it. And like if you have family members or cousins or whatever, you know, when I first moved to New York City, my first travel assignment, I did. I was staying with a friend, and obviously I didn't pay anything, you know, but I moved out and got my own place and started renting a room for someone, just so I got my own space that was bigger. But yeah, that's the whole point of the stipend. You do what you want to do with it, you know, and yeah, you choose to, you know, pay whoever, you know, you can work it out with whoever family member or whoever, you know, like I'm sure Shantae, you know, when she worked out with her person, $800 a month or whatever. And then sometimes it might be more, sometimes it might be less. And Airbnbs is a great site. Also VRBO is a great site too, that has, you know, housing as well. And also just looking on Craigslist and going to see the people, you know, in the place. We found our assignment in Hawaii from Craigslist.
Some agencies, because I'm in this other nursing group on Facebook, it's called Gypsy Nurses, if y'all want to look at it. They had said something about some of the agencies will actually have houses that they actually just put you in.
Yeah.
But you won't know who you're going to be with, though.
Yeah, some of them I read horror stories about that.
Yeah, I heard a lot of horror stories, though.
Yeah, some of them will place you with somebody, but you don't know who that person might be. You don't know how you living with, you know, how they living. You know, they might be dirty, they might be messy, you know.
And that she just was like, why would you place me in a house with a man?
Right.
It's too bad.
It's crazy.
But I usually never take the housing. I usually always just find my own housing, even if the housing is great. But sometimes certain agencies will give you some great housing, will give you your own condo or whatever. And like when we was working in Hawaii, this lady actually took the whole 3 months from June to beginning of September, and she brought her 2 kids too. One was 13, one was like in high school because the kids was out of school for the summer, and she came to Hawaii. She not only was she working, but her husband was with her, her kids was with her, and on the days off they traveled, they had fun. It was a free vacay for them, and she took the housing because obviously she had her whole family with her, and they gave her a whole condo, you know. And so it depends on, you know, where you at and what's your situation. You might want to take the housing sometimes, you know, if you're alone, but other times I usually recommend just find your own housing. You can find something way cheaper, and then, you know, pocket some of that money, and then just rent a room from somebody.
Or
You know,
if you have a family member, like my aunt actually works for the Marriott, so she has me down on her family and friends. So I was able to get, like, when we stay in Syracuse, I get the rooms for $39 a night.
Wow.
Right.
It's great.
Right.
So
Find you somebody that's working.
in a hotel, and it's good for, you know, no matter where you go. But yeah, I love it. I enjoy it. I'm definitely making double what I was making. You know, I'm making what I made in 2 weeks in 1 week. So, you know, the bag is out there. The bag is out there.